Good morning. This is Gazette Magazine's Andrew Lubin. We're here today with Lieutenant General Richard Mills at the Amphibious Operations Conference in Arlington, Virginia. General, good morning.
Good morning.
General, amphibious operations in the Marine Corps are a combination of forcible landings, HADR, and general getting around and showing the flag. What do you see in the future as the major role of amphibious operations?
Well, I think that the value of amphibious forces is their ability to be forward deployed and be a crisis response force when the nation needs it. The flexibility they give and the range of capabilities they provide to decision makers is significant. It provides the decision makers the chance not only to act decisively in the case of humanitarian disasters, but it also gives them the ability to act decisively in the full range of combat operations, everything from humanitarian relief, as I said, to neo-evacuations of embassies that come into trouble, to stability operations in countries that may be having some turmoil, to full-range combat should that need arise.
Yeah. Last March, in about a 3-week span, you had Colonel Desson's 7 Harriers flying off the Kearsarge stopped to get off the Army asset at Benghazi. That very same week, Colonel Andrew McManus and 15th MEU, I believe, was doing HADR in Japan for Operation Tomodachi, and weeks before that, you flew a battalion of Marines from the Kearsarge up to Afghanistan. The year prior, we had 2 MEUs in Haiti on short notice. Before that, we had MEUs off of Bangladesh and off of Myanmar. When you're on Capitol Hill, what pushback do you have as to why amphibious operations aren't the forefront of American foreign policy?
Well, I think most of the pushback really comes from the cost. In these days of fiscal constraint, you have to prioritize what you can buy. Ships are expensive, and amphibious ships are as expensive as warships. And the requirement to refurbish those forces, again, it causes some concern up on Capitol Hill. The value of amphibious forces is never debated. The cost is a concern. So we work very closely with the Navy to ensure that our plans and our requirements fit in with the plans they have over a fairly lengthy period of time, about 30 years. They use to refurbish all their capital ships. And so again, the only pushback we ever get, it's never on value of the forces themselves. It's never on the capabilities. It's never on their ability to influence world events. But it is on the cost of those forces.
If you look at the Gator Navy, the Navy and Marines have agreed that 34 to 36 ships is optimum. 30, I believe, is what's written in law. Navy today has 27 working ships. The shortfall is unfortunately the LHAs. How do you get Marine, and the shortfall will be about 3 to 4 years continuing. How do you project power if you can't get Marines from point A to point B?
The numbers of amphibious ships required by the Marine Corps has gone down over the past few years, and it is an acceptance of a certain amount of risk by the senior leadership of the Marine Corps in conjunction with the senior leadership of the Navy. Our requirement has been consistent, though, however, over the past 2 or 3 years, that we need 30 amphibious ships to support the landing of 2 Marine Expeditionary Brigades in order to conduct forcible entry operations. Now, if the Navy cannot provide those ships at the particular time or particular place ready to go, the MAGTF commander will be forced to mitigate that requirement through other means. There are certain TRANSCOM assets that could be used. There are pre-positioned forces afloat. There are MPS ships that could be used, but it'll be an issue that will have to be addressed at that time, at that place, and reflect the threat that MAGTF commander faces.
Do you find the loss of the cancellation of the EFE program going to be a detriment, or would that still be able to get Marines from ship to shore?
Well, our Amtraks are still fully functioning. They are running into some mechanical problems, some age problems, but they still meet the requirement that we have at the present time. We are working, however, very closely with industry to find an affordable replacement for our Amtraks. We're calling that the ACV, our Amphibious Combat Vehicle. It will not be as capable as the EFV was foreseen to be, but it will be a capable replacement for our Amtraks. What that turns out to be is still under study. Currently at Quantico, we have an analysis of alternatives. We're looking at various requirements that we have and possible sources. And of course, these days, the cost becomes a significant factor. So we are working to replace the Amtraks with a reliable vehicle that can be launched miles at sea and put the Marines on shore, protected, ready to conduct operations ashore as needed.
Okay. The Marine Corps is being cut back in personnel from 202,000 to approximately 182,000. Gator Navy's reduced in size. Army's being cut back. There is a budgetary issue across the board. Do you find that the military is being asked to find missions to match the budget instead of the other way around,
No, I believe that we have designed our force in an affordable manner, but one that meets the capabilities expected of the nation's force and readiness. The Marines traditionally have been most ready when this nation has been least ready. Traditionally, we have provided a forward deployed presence where our country needs us. And traditionally, we have given our decision makers and our National Command Authority a flexible response option that meets a wide range of missions across the entire range of military operations. That will not change. The Marine Corps, although smaller than it currently is, will still be a middleweight force capable of forcible entry, capable of providing decisive operations once ashore, and capable of enabling the joint force should further forces be required. So although we'll be a bit smaller, we'll still be lean, we'll still be mean, and we'll still be capable of performing the missions that are expected of us and that this country needs.
President Obama in October changed the focus of the military and American foreign policy from Europe to Asia in the Pacific. Asia and the Pacific is the economic boom of the world right now. It's also got some of the poorest people, where hands-on, showing the flag, shaking hands is far more important than high-tech. Do you see the Gator Navy and the Marine Corps being able to fulfill the mission and get around, or do you see the problems in that in the next few years?
No, I think the Marine Corps and the Gator Navy is the ideal tool for what we need to do in the Pacific Basin over the coming years. We are going to provide a forward presence, we're going to provide a reassurance to our allies and friends, and we're going to engage with countries throughout that region. We can do all of that and yet not leave a footprint ashore, not have an unacceptable presence in places where they want to be friends with us, they want to work with us, but they don't necessarily want to see U.S. forces on a day-to-day basis. The Gator Navy, the United States Marine Corps, gives us that capability. We can work with a relatively small force, an economic force, everywhere from Australia in the South Pacific, where we are now training very heavily with our Australian allies to include operations at a brand new base near Darwin, all the way up north to Japan and Korea, where we can operate again with our friends and allies. We're there, they can see us, they know we're around should they need us, and yet we are not an unwelcome presence perhaps within their country. Areas like Indonesia, countries such as the Philippines, again, want to see the Marines back. They want to see the Gator Navy back, both for port calls and for exercises and engagement. And we will give the combatant commander in that theater that capability to do just that. So I think when you look at what you want to do in the Pacific, when you look at the miles and miles and miles of open ocean, when you look at the vast separation between our areas of interest, when you look at the natural choke points through which much of the world's oil and commerce flows, it's the Gator Navy and the U.S. Marines on board those ships that will give the United States of America the capability to remain a presence out there for years to come. We'll reassure our allies, and we'll be ready and poised should a crisis arise, everything ranging from humanitarian disaster to combat should that need be there.
In 2010, the USS Iwo Jima was on Operation Continuing Promise, I believe it was, where she sailed, did 7 countries in about 6 months, and performed 165,000 medical treatments. This is HADR and friendly foreign policy multiplied. Do we have the assets to be in the Pacific and continue operations like this in Latin America and Central America?
Well, I think in the Pacific we certainly do. Where we're going to have a robust presence. We are going to remain a MEU afloat off the west coast of the United States. We'll have a MEU coming off of Japan, all of which give us a presence at sea. The Gator Navy, the ships that we're going to be embarked on, give us a presence, give us the capability to launch aircraft and surface forces ashore to provide humanitarian relief should that need arise, or disaster relief if that need arrives. Although I remind you, those ships bring with them a medical presence that's pretty formidable. Our LHA is getting a level 2 hospital, which can treat both military and civilian casualties in the event of disasters. And the embarked Marines bring with them a presence that, again, can provide water, fuel, medical supplies to people in desperate need of it. I think that when those people who are subject to floods, people who have been subject to tsunami, natural disasters like that, when they see those helicopters land with the United States of America emblem on the side, U.S. Marines printed on there, and they see Navy corpsmen treating the wounded, and they see Marines offloading logistics supplies in support of those folks, food, water, etc. I think that the benefit is long-lasting and will be around for years and years and years. They will remember that the Americans were there. They will remember the American people provided that support. They will remember the Americans helped at a time when they desperately needed it. I think all of that builds goodwill. It projects a great image of our country. It's what a great world power should do. So I think that we're going to have that. We're going to have that capability. Places like Africa and South America, we will have it. It'll be more limited because